Hey guys, welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Farrukh Ahmed. I'm a corporate coach and consultant on productivity and optimization, and I host a podcast on motivation and inspiration. Today we have special guests with us. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Abe. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm currently the CEO of Rainmaking Mina. We specialize in running accelerators and ventures in the Middle East market.
Hey everyone, my name is Zohair, and I am the founder of a couple of startups based out of Dubai. One of them is a marketing agency, and the other one I can't really talk too much about. I've been saying this for the last few episodes. I hope one of them I'll be able to tell you what it is. But in the meantime, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next guest, Ali Oosman, who joins us live from Dubai. The show won't be live, obviously, you'll be seeing this later on, but Ali is known to me personally for quite a while. We've known each other for the better part of 2 years, and he's played a tremendous role in helping me shape some of my ideas and thoughts around one of the businesses that I've been working on, and is now one of my key advisors in a business that I am building and structuring right now with his guidance and help. And I'm so happy that he's in Dubai as well. So, without further ado, Ali will pass the mic over to you and tell us a little bit about what you were doing and what you are doing now. And let's get into it.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. My name is Ali Samir Oosman, and as Zohair mentioned so kindly, I'm one of his advisors and based out of Dubai. Um, just to talk a little bit about my experience with respect to the topic, which is about advisors and advisory, as well as what I've done over the last few years. So I've uh, I've I've been fortunate enough to work across 14, 15 different industries. Everything from a very well-funded social development organization that was looking to build businesses in healthcare and education and food security, uh, which is where I kind of understood a lot about, the masses, uh, lower middle class, middle income populations across emerging markets and how their purchase behaviors and decisions are shaped, uh, to working with insurance companies on digital transformation, building some of my own startups, helping friends launch startups from idea stage to growth stage, and then leading a corporate venture arm that I helped set up across in the region where we made 4 to 5 different investments. Throughout my time, I've kind of been an advisor to startups, to companies, to individuals, to students that are just graduating. It depends on the context, really. And more recently, I moved to Dubai, where I was doing a startup SME advisory role, which involved a bit of coaching, digital transformation and process reengineering, as well as helping startups and investors kind of match make and kind of participate in the due diligence and valuation modeling strategy process. Recently, I've taken up a role with Microsoft for Startups, MIA, which is Middle East and Africa. And we're looking to kind of structure and scale this program across the region to kind of help startups use the Microsoft ecosystem and scale globally.
Great.
Great.
Thank you for joining us, Ali.
Good stuff. Yeah,
Thank
nice
you.
to.
Thank you for having me.
So let's kick it off. I guess I'll throw down the gauntlet and ask the first question, and try and avoid
Sure.
being too controversial. But I guess it's a two-pronged question, really. Like, what good is an advisor really, and what's their job? I mean, if we were to generalize and
Um, Interesting. Okay, so I guess the way I look at it is, and you and I have touched upon this a couple of times before, there are many types of advisors. And I don't think you can classify all of them as having a job, whereas others you can. And that depends on how you structure the advisory, how the advisory relationship is structured or the requirements are structured, right? So the way I look at it is, I prefer the word advisor to the word mentor, because many a time, a mentor is someone you may not know personally or even interact with personally. It's someone who could inspire you without that direct connection or advice going both ways. Whereas an advisor is someone that you turn to or ask for guidance from, or refer to when trying to solve a problem or make a big decision in life, with respect to everything from career, personal family life, you know crossroads that you may find yourself in at different points in your life, a business that you're trying to build, whether it's idea stage or growth stage, or a new large customer you're dealing with and how you should approach that deal. An advisor is someone you trust, that you turn to, that you believe could help you in a particular situation. Now, when I said job and what relation that has to an advisor, I don't think an advisor can be categorized as having a job unless the deal or the relationship that you've structured with them involves, say, some sort of incentive for the advisory, right? And that's when it's a job where they're expected to give a certain amount of time or effort, with respect to the job structure that you've created with incentive.
Hmm.
Most of the time, advisors are just people who you turn to, whose opinion you trust, who are willing to genuinely help you out without that incentive structure. And I say that because if someone's helping you personally, it doesn't have anything to do with the financial or other incentive, right? They may be just doing it to help you. But in other times, uh, it would be foolish not to realize that even in situations that are personal advisory, when you help someone, and there's a human element that somewhere in the back of your mind, that person will help you too when you need it, right?
Yeah.
And that's a you scratch my back, I scratch your back mentality, which exists in all humankind. I don't think you can discount.
Yeah.
It's interesting how you've actually structured this way, because I think there's a lot of people mix up the three terms between advisor, mentor, and coach. Those are the three things that people are always what's it called, confused about. I have a lot of founders and I have a lot of business owners come up to me and say, well, what's the difference between the three? You know what I mean? And then I think that you put some good foundation to do both of those. And I think to add to that, the coaching aspect is always, usually coaching is always an hourly based paid kind of job, from what I experienced anyway. So but which, if you don't mind me asking, so I'm sure a lot of people come and ask you, so how much would you pay them? Would you pay them? Like all these questions, and that is always a very difficult question to answer. How do you feel about that?
So, so yeah, totally agree, right? I think they're totally different things. So I think maybe there's sometimes maybe a little bit of an overlap between a coach and an advisor, because you could bring a financial incentive to both. Uh, but the way I look at them being different is, if I pay for an art class, it's the same as me paying for a coach. And at the end of that 1 hour a week or 1 hour, 3 days a week art session, I'm expected to learn how to use either watercolor pencils or charcoal or whatever, right? So coaching is an element of paying for something or utilizing a service that you're going to learn from, as opposed to advisory, where you're paying for someone's expertise of approach to a given scenario, but it's not necessary that you learn from it. It's more whether you listen to what they say and take that route or not, right? And that's more a game of chance and choice, because
Yeah.
if you don't understand the advice, you may not take it. But with coaching,
Discretionary.
because you're working on a particular way of doing something, inevitably you'll pick that up as a skill set, right? And whether that's got to do with business planning or creating a new function or building a new idea, it's how you approach it, right? So let's just take idea stage. Coaching for idea stage could be principles of design thinking that you learn during the process of coaching.
Sure.
Advisory at the idea stage could mean me helping you build your idea or refine your idea better, but you either agree or disagree and therefore take the route you choose to.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice. Very
Well, Ali,
straightforward. I like it.
Ali, I want to ask, in terms of the advising bit, I'm sure you would have come across scenarios where people would want your advice, but then would not follow it through because it doesn't really click in their mind. So sometimes people get stuck with their ideas so bad, and we had talked about this in one of, I think, the second episode. So people get stuck and they don't want to hear against it. Somebody could come to you at the ideation stage and you might just chop it off, dissect into pieces and say, hey, this is a bad idea. And they were like, no, I'm in it with all my heart and soul. I'm not going to listen to somebody who doesn't agree with me. So how do you put advices?
So it's interesting, right? I mean, I'm gonna, if you allow me a second, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read out a text message to you. Okay.
No naming a team.
Because
yeah.
Or
because,
do.
yeah. So no, I can't.
I know. I'm just messing.
No, but the thing is, so this is an example of advisory, non-paid. So a lot of people do speak to me about different things, right? So I've recently spoken to about 5 to 6 fresh graduates, and we can touch upon how I advise them regarding a framework I use for career planning, especially when it comes to COVID and the fact that they can't get jobs anymore. So there's a particular framework I use. I run them through it. I help them think through it, and we have multiple sessions. It's all free of cost, right? It's not people I know or my friends' friends or my nephews or nieces or something like that. Then there's friends who reach out for career advice regarding their business and where they are in their lives and an opportunity that they took with a startup or whatever that they thought would be very lucrative. But guess what? Now they're dead end, 4 years in, nothing's happening. And they have this preconceived notion of how it should be. And that relates to what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where it's very hard for them to see the other side.
Exactly.
So this is something I send anybody who reaches out to me that doesn't pay me for my service, right? I'm just going to read it out to you. So it's a message I send pretty much everybody when it comes to this is more related to career counseling, right? Why or what they're doing in their lives? Simply because if I have a very busy week and I'm taking out an hour, 2 hours at a time to try to talk to you to help you with your problem, because you've reached out to me and I know it's going to take 5-8 sessions for us to do that. It's a waste of my time if you're not willing to look at it a certain way, right?
Right.
So let me just read that out to you because what I send to everybody, right? So I say, for clarity of purpose, my sole intention and responsibility as a true friend is to give you unbiased advice and recommendations for how to think moving forward and what you need to do based on my opinion and advice. I will be clear and I will be direct. I know more than enough history about you and details about your personality traits to not hear arguments against what I'm saying because you reached out to me for advice. I don't want to hear you don't understand this and you don't understand that, but actually, and your opinion on what you think the situation is, because that is a waste of time for both you and me in this process. I've had these sessions with many people ranging from the age of 16 to 50 who have requested time for my advice, opinion, and approach for a reset in life or their situation moving forward. These things, when done properly, take emotional and mental energy to get across, and it's a process. Not something I enjoy doing or do just for anybody, but what it's worth is for my intentions for you to succeed in life. And therefore, I'm clear with the approach that I take, and I'm clear with the stance of advice that I'm giving you which is what you have asked for. You can choose to understand what I say and take my approach, for which I will happily work with you over a journey to course correct and make better decisions, whether it's career, life, or otherwise. You can choose to listen to what I say, and you can choose to completely disagree and decide to do as you do now or do yourself in the future. In the case of the latter, where you decide to do what you want to do and still don't understand what you've gone through in this process, I will always wish the best for you, but likely never work with you in the future to help you in a similar way again. As there will never be an alignment in approach and therefore a waste of future emotional and mental energy for the both of us. I hope you understand what I am saying and only participate in this process if these rules of engagement are fair and agreeable to you. I send this to people.
Did you write this or did you copy it from somewhere?
No, I wrote it. I wrote it once to someone who had many sessions with over years, and I knew everything, and they just still wouldn't get it. It was like talking to a brick wall.
Maybe you should share it with us too as well, because I get a lot of these people reaching out to me, and you know what I mean? Like, and you know what? I do agree with everything you said on that, because a lot of times people think when they reach out to, like in my case, to me, it's thinking that I'm going to do it for them. That's
oh yes. Yeah.
That's definitely not going to happen. I don't have
We
the
talked about
time.
lazy founders.
Yeah.
So
You know what I mean? Like they think, we'll reach out to this guy. Maybe this guy, I can sweet talk him into something, and I'll give him a 1% equity in my company or whatever. And like, listen, I like, and there's a lot of that happening here,
Mm-hmm.
especially. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, it
Like,
happens to me a lot. It happens a lot to me, but there's a difference between, you see, for me, if I look at someone who's coming out from the market to me, right? I don't have a personal relationship with you. I don't know your character traits.
yep,
I don't know how you think like and what you think like, right? Even with, and I'll use Zohair as an example here. I give Zohair unbiased advice without really knowing him. And then over getting to know
Did you send him
over
this message
2.5 years.
when you met him?
No, I
I
didn't
was
have
so
this
afraid.
I didn't have this message then. No, but yeah, but I gave him unbiased advice, which he can attest to is quite brutal for someone you don't know, because I told him some things really bluntly. But I didn't know him, right? It was just, I said, what, if I tell you what I think, if it's helpful, whatever. Over 2.5 years, I got to know the person, got to know his character traits, got to know him, his situation, his life, his family, what he does, and putting myself in a better position to really understand what his mental roadblocks could be. And we've worked together from going from one way of looking at a business industry concept to completely looking at it another way, right? Which has resulted in a whole new stealth business model. And you'll find out, I guess, when he shares it. But that's a great example of how he did it, right? And when it comes to people reaching out, open market that don't have that relationship with, and you need to understand that if you don't have a relationship with someone, you can't expect them to be wholly and solely genuine with the time and effort they put in the advisory. It's just not possible unless there's an incentive attached to it. And that incentive then only makes sense if there is a potential benefit of future monetary gain. And that doesn't have to just do with a founder saying, hey, I have an idea, I'll give you 5%, non-dilutable for 2 rounds. That's great. But what if I think the idea is terrible? And if I think it's terrible, then I don't want 5%. It's something that I know is not going to work or don't believe in,
Yep.
So that's a part of the process of identifying and incentivizing the advisor who you don't have a personal relationship. And many times founders just think giving an equity promise is enough to convince you without realizing that you have, sometimes I might take, and I have done this, take advisory equity in a startup where we've gone through a process and changed what the startup was. Not because I wanted equity in the business that he came to me with, but because I wanted equity in whatever this guy was going to do, because I loved his energy, just looking at the wrong thing at the wrong time.
Yep. Exactly. It's founders you join. It's not the company. Obviously, it's always, it's always people. You say, okay, maybe, if we look at it, and then he would come in or she would come in with an idea, and then you sit down together and you say, no, this is what the area you should be tackling, and not what because we a lot of people come to us because we've seen personally, I've seen so many pitch decks in the last 2 years. I would say in the thousands. And then I've seen some very interesting businesses that I'd like to know more about or get involved. And then somebody comes along, they think they would fit that profile, and they're very close to that idea. And then you say, well, you know what, let's see what's out there in the market. And then they come up and they get enlightened themselves. And that's what, usually sparks my interest. A lot of people come to me with like very good business, elaborate plans that will make money, but not really very interested in that whole scheme, right? So we turn down a lot of people, a lot of great people, but sometimes we don't need. I don't have the time, or what I mean. Actually, come to think about it, there's another question I'm going to ask you, Ali, as well. Is what do you think about those people who would like to collect advisors just to put them on a presentation, or they say I'm working with this I'm working with this advisor? What do you think of these?
So it depends, right? I don't think it's a bad thing completely, because if having someone as a profile on your company, even if you decide not to use them, is going to help you raise equity funding, and you've given that advisor an equity stake at a certain valuation that's going to exceed once they raise capital, it works both ways. In fact, it could work even for the advisor without having to really get involved, right? Because most advisors who you come to for advice don't have much time. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it.
It's true.
So
It's true.
if anything, if a founder is straight up with me and says, you know what, I want you on my profile because I think that's going to help me. I don't want any time commitment from you. I just want to use you on my profile. If it works, it works.
Okay.
In fact, if it works, it's probably an easier way for me to get incentive without putting the time in.
Yeah.
And if I don't know you, it's even better, right? But it really depends. Again, if the startup is not something I'm confident about, why would I even want to equity in it in the first place? So there's a process of due diligence that advisors have to do, and the good ones do, you know. But at the same time, I'm not going to say I'm not a softie, right? I mean, I am a softie. I understand that there's challenges. I've created startups in an ecosystem that had no money. I've lost my own money. And there's been things that have returned me money and been profitable. There's been things I've lost money in. You know, I've invested in startups where we've seen a great opportunity, market's there, demand's there, supply side's not there, the timing's not right for the market, money's lost, startups died, and there was no way, nothing else I could do to help the startup, right? So having seen that, I have become a little bit of a softie where, you know, I remember this goes back to when I was graduated from college in America. Terrible time, 2010, 11, last financial crisis, couldn't get sponsorship visas, very difficult. No one was doing it. Visa sponsorship quotas kind of went empty pretty much. Yeah. I remember trying to call anybody and everybody I could to help me out, whether it was advice, whether it was an approach, whether it was a recommendation, whether it was a job, whatever it was, right? I did everything. I slept on sofas. I went city to city, living on people's floors. It was like an intense experience. But I'll never forget the handful of people, and by handful, I mean very few, that actually genuinely took time out of their day to sit with me and help me and guide me and connect me. And how majority of the people, most of whom I thought would be there to help me in some way, didn't. And that left an impression with me because a lot of those handful of people I didn't know very well. And a lot of people I knew very well didn't do anything. And that experience kind of stuck with me where today, if it's a job, if it's a career, if it's advice, many a times, at least at first couple, 1 to 3 sessions, I don't even think about incentive. Whether I know you, I don't know you, right? Simply because I feel as a human being who's got a particular experience in life, if I can help anybody, I will, or at least try to. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? As long as it doesn't overburden me or my input. Not to mention the fact that the ecosystem in its entirety encourages a new way of business, right? A millennial approach to work, so to speak, right? Work from home. There are people today whose companies are doing work from home, and the management leadership team of that company cannot fathom how people are not sitting in the office.